addressed, and that Nigeria was built on a faulty foundation. Is this true? And how independent is Nigeria after 56 years? How much has it achieved in the areas of technological advancement and industrialization? And what is the way forward in building a virile nation? These are some of the issues we'll be examining tonight on NTA Tuesday Live. But first, let's get to
more than 100 public and private universities. Economy-wise, many may say Nigeria remains not as expected, with more focus to mono-economic policy, much more relying on the oil sector rather than diversifying its abundant resources. But for people like Malam Adamu Chiroma, who served as the first indigenous central bank governor and finance minister, every generation opportunities for the country since its independence, thereby enabling the country to take its rightful place as the most populated black nation. By whatever yardstick, Nigeria has come a long way, 56 years of nationhood, its challenges notwithstanding. Both financial experts and political observers said such challenges are not peculiar to Nigeria. They also chart the way forward.
We have to go back to the land. Is the one source which the Almighty has given us.
For me, we should talk less about those things that divide us and stress more, talk more, dwell more on things that unite us as a nation. It is even in our diversity that we have our strength, really. That is where we have the strength.
As the nation marks 56 years of independence, the good point is both the government and the people being governed agree the future of the country is bright, with more commitment, dedication, and patriotism. Abdullahi Garba Kudu, NTA News.
that report sets the tone for tonight's discussion. Let's introduce our guest to you tonight. I'd like to welcome to this program from our Lagos Network Center, former Director General of the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs, Professor Bola Akintarenwa, the immediate past Director General of the NIA. Professor Akintarenwa, thanks for joining us here. Make a comment and don't bother too much about the greetings. Just go straight to the point. You do know, of course, that the lines can be erratic sometimes, so it's best when you get through to go straight to the point. And whatever issues you raise, I guess will be only too willing to address them. So once again, welcome to NTA Tuesday Live. Let's begin by asking the same question that's been asked over and over again, and that is the national question. And what is this national question? And do we agree that is a national question that should be addressed? Let's begin with Professor Akintarenwa in our Lagos Network Center. Prof.
There is actually an issue of national question. One, national question is comprised of two words: nation, question. In other words, I'm trying to say what makes the question national. If we do not address it from that perspective, it will be very difficult for us to understand the issues. 20 years ago, therefore referring to 1967, he said that corruption had become the bane of Nigerian society. All right, an issue. It had become institutionalized. Now, 1967 to 2016, corruption has remained the main problem, militating against progress, against national unity, etc. Now, this same corruption has become a new source, in fact, catalyst in what is creating problem for Nigeria. More significantly, political governance has now been largely predicated on dishonesty of purpose. Now, these are elements of the national question. So I am submitting that if we have not been able to make progress substantially, it is simply because little attention had been focused on all this.
Of international nations. Then the constituent nations, you call them ethnic nationalities. There are about maybe over 300 of them. Some are classified as major or dominant. Some are classified as minor and dialects. The question arises out of how these 300 so plus Nigerian internal or domestic ethnics bind themselves to be recognized as one sovereign state in the international arena. Nigeria at independence was about 60 million. Now it's about 270 million. By about 2056, it is foreseen that it will be about 500 million in population. Now, how we march to securing the coherence and the patriotism of the Nigerians up to the projected 500 million is a task. It is a challenge that must be solved. We have found solutions so far.
You don't even believe that there is this national question. Where do you stand?
There is a national question, but whether it stems from a faulty foundation is what I don't know. What I do know is that between 1940 and 1960, some committed patriots got together and fought for the independence of this country. They're crying one morning. His soldiers came and said, what could be making the greatest man on earth to be crying? He said, there's no more world to conquer. So when we finished with our independence, it seems as if there was no world to conquer except to destroy the independence. And in destroying the independence the way we have let our nationals down, and beyond that, we have let the black world down. Because in your intro, Muhammad Kudu Abubakar did say that this is the most populous black nation in the world. Right. So the question stands, the national question. It must be discussed. Those who are saying shy away from discussing it because they're not helping matters, because we have degraded the quality of the Nigerian.
Okay. We'll return to those issues, and well, the background, of course, which you referred to by Abdullahi Garba Birnin Kudu, of course. Kuli, do we have a national question here to contend with?
From the presentation made already, it is clear that we do have a national question, and that national question does have a lot of sub-questions to the state. And so there are primordial attachments and loyalties. And again, we had the challenge and the misfortune of having to go through the process of reorientation of our belief system with the introduction of the two major religions that are now predominant in the Nigerian state, and that is Christianity and Islam. Once you understand that these issues have come to bear, And then the kind of educational system that we now subscribe to has created another challenge. How do I mean? Before now, we had the informal education with only very few of the ethnic groups and the empires that we do have having a way of documenting and transferring knowledge. But today, you now have another schema for our educational system that has brought in quite a number of issues. And when we introduced education in Nigeria in the last couple of years, you will discover that we started with what was enhancing vocational skills acquisition and professionalism and making sure that we could attend to those who...
You're still talking about how can we remain united. So the question is, did we get together to become independent only to break up?
Thank you very much. We didn't attain our political independence for the purposes of fighting ourselves again. And that was why I mentioned earlier on the concept of Nigerianness, which was also raised by my other interlocutors in this case. We had Nigeria, but what does Nigeria mean? That was the issue. You can see, for instance, that at a point in time we fought a civil war, all right, because of the word Nigeria. We have some brothers who refused, all right, to be part. Now, when the war was fought, instead of, I want to use the word panel beating, quote and unquote, all right, Nigeria, so that the same system that brought our patriotic leaders, and you are very right to use the word theory, propounded or recalled, he's right. If, for instance, there is no war to fight again, and Alexander was weeping, we now liken that one to the Nigerian case. In other words, to say, well, we fought for independence, but after independence now, there is no fight again, and we are now fighting ourselves. Very good similarity. But the issue is to articulate the dynamics. What was responsible? What was missing? In the case of great Alexander, there was no war. In our own case, there was still independence to continue to fight for. Independence in all ramifications. So that constitutes another element of the national question that we must pursue to seek understanding to. So I agree with you. There is irony in the whole history.
All right. Okay, General, yes, the patriots served the country. They tried to bequeath legacies, but there are those who argue
the Civil War that we had to fight. Why was there this combative negotiation? The professors will tell you the history. I'm a soldier, and I know the reasons that we soldiers had to defend the integrity of what was negotiated in the Nigerian nation with a formula for federalism. So, challenges have their bubble time and their burst time and their recovery time.
Okay.
Exactly what we are now going through, a cycle of wealthy Nigerian oil nation. The bubble is now burst, and we are facing the new challenge. And these are the challenges which must be faced if we are to survive the next 50 years.
Okay, the lines are already open, and we have from Kanu calling in, Kabiru, I believe, calling in from Kanu.
These two issues, we keep on bringing in bad leaders, corrupt leaders, and we start talking about national question. Where is the question? When you try 3 times to answer the question, you can't see the question. You can't see the question. Don't look at the system. You want to continue for the rest of 400 years, you are looking for the question that you can't answer. So if we can't answer this question, it means we must have to live together. We have to unite. We have to solve the problem, bring in bad leaders, and corruption must be eliminated. If we have to kill those leaders to get our country sanitized.
So why are you not doing that now?
Good. Meritocracy and excellence in leadership, which he talked about. Unity, national unity of purpose. We have gone from there now to greed, avarice, tribalism, nepotism, discrimination, exclusionism, tribal and religious intolerance.
Who chose those leaders who introduced these things, those vices you talked about?
I beg to say that the general said at a certain time, Eve that made him to eat. Interestingly, that's the case of the Nigerian state. We enjoy buck passing and fault finding. And as such, we entered into a phase with the processes of the acculturation that we went through. The processes of the acculturation that we went through led to something that is very interesting. The emergence of an elite class. And that is where Professor Peter Eke had to present issues.
Okay. I'll ask you to hold on a while. We have another caller on the line from Lagos. Emmanuel calling in from Lagos. Hello, Emmanuel.
Hello. Well, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I want to make clarification. I was born just after the Civil War, and I'm trying to listen to
help us negotiate what is Nigeria. Did those leaders not put in place a mechanism for raising leaders of like minds? So what did they leave behind? Did they leave and then there was a vacuum? Was there no succession plan in leadership?
Yeah, thank you. You see, let us begin with the leaders than the leadership system. So, when we are talking about vacuum that we are raising, the issue is simply that from various research published so far, there has not been continuity from one regime to the other about leadership. It must go pari passu with followership, because without followership, leadership is meaningless. More significantly, when it is argued by one of the interventionists, he was right. He is saying that there is no national question. In fact, leadership itself is an element of the national question. All right? So
that is the root of what is happening to us in Nigeria today. And that is my contribution, please.
All right. Thank you. And we seem to be getting somewhere at last. But we're not losing sight of the fact that questions have also been raised about when we began to derail. Dr. Palinjoku, I believe, stated that from the point the military started into, coming in, we began to lose
from the fruits that bear them, because no one is actually born a leader. You are bred. You may have the traits, you may have the blessing and the opportunity, to be a leader. No one is really born corrupt. It's a matter of the upbringing and the emergence of how you morally and ethically fulfill your mission within the society in which we are growing. We'll be finding solutions to the national question. Can we find an answer to evolving good leadership and good governance in Nigeria? Can we do so outside the provisions of a democratic society that is free, that is just, that is equitable? These are the issues.
Okay, let's go back to the phones. We have calling in from Gombe. Mohammed. Hello, Mohammed. Let's take a short break now. When we return, we'll look at other aspects of 56 years of Nigerian independence. We've talked about the political side. We will look at the economy and see where, how far we've gone and in 56 years of independence. Stay with us on Tuesday Live. We'll be back shortly.
Nigerians, our fearless officers and men of the Nigerian military are winning the war against Boko Haram.
Believe in ourselves and change our attitude for the sake of our country and generations unborn. Let us revive our cultural values, which are our essence as a nation. Let us renew the spirit of patriotism and hope in our dear country. Do not take or give bribe. Be punctual always. No more African time. We can't expect to be global citizens and operate on African time. Join the queue.
But we have also seen a dependence on oil. Today, we ask how much progress have we made in terms of the economy and where do we go from here?
Yeah, thank you very much for bringing this aspect. And please permit me to be personal and selfish this time. Some years back, I gave a lecture in my place, in my hometown. I come from Ufuru in Imbise, in Imo State. And they wanted me to talk to the people. And I chose the topic of the basic values of the Nigerian polity. Our motto says, unity and faith, peace and progress. Are we respecting them? Then the national ethics talk of discipline, integrity, dignity of labor, social justice, religious tolerance, self-reliance, and patriotism. How well have we respected these tenets? If we have not respected them and we are selling the little assets,
contributed to the sustenance of the economy and driving of the process. But along the line when the oil came in, mindful of the fact that there was a need to manage the political processes as well, and this was under the military institution, we ended up with a unitarized system, partly because of the command and control nature of the military. This affected a lot of things and the way our resources were being managed. Painfully, we have ended up with this situation where all resources end up at the center before being redistributed and not allowing for very cordial relationships to exist between the constituent entities of the Nigerian state. And this is part of the reasons why we're having agitations and self-determination quests and agenda. And you'll discover that the moment the economic sharing formula is not reflective of the area of sourcing such an economic resource, it begins to give us challenges, and that is part of why we've been having. Another component of what we're dealing with is that we do not diversify, and we have the capacity to engage critical stakeholders early to begin to articulate and bring us out of the crisis and challenges that we have found ourselves. I'm hoping that within the context of what we're now facing, as part of the solutions and the way forward to addressing the Nigerian national.
Hello, Ugo.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Go ahead.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, we are.
Yes, sir. Can I speak?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, sir. I want to just contribute that
In all we are saying about restructuring and whatever, there are three major things that Nigerians want to see. And what we want to see is there should be food on the table of the people, and there should be roof over the heads of the people, and there should be mobility.
The economy. How can the nation, looking with the benefit of its past, or the benefit of its history, now forge ahead in the quest for diversifying the economy and putting it back on track?
Yeah, it can be done in many ways. If we go down the memory lane, what happened in the First Republic, for instance? The analysis of Fagbemi was super, all right, quite relevant. Recall what happened in the first decade post-independence era. There used to be a development Mauritania, but the bitter truth is that Nigeria has the largest area of fertile land, arable land, which means that agriculture in Africa, we have the necessary wherewithal. Now we should look at mechanized, farming, introduce modern technology. That is how to begin to diversify. Gas, we have more gas in reserve than crude oil. But you discover that at the end of the day, we are still exporting only to re-import the finished products. There has to be capacity building at the local level. As I argued in my earlier submission here, I raised the issue of dishonesty of purpose. It is not that we don't have experts in Nigeria. It is not that we don't have people who do know how to bail the country out. But I am positing that there is the fact that government is talking about building 5,000 houses that they want to allocate in 2016. The one they collected money from in 1994, they have not done that. That's why I raised the issue of continuity. I am repositing that at the end of the day, those who are asking for restructuring, they are not against a united,
by the designs and objectives of a conspiratorial world that guides you to be a supplier of raw materials, basic, and therefore over time they conspire to guide the direction of your policies and limit the achievement of their expectations. What I'm saying here is that we are too tired, we have gone a long way. But what has consistently happened is that each time we are rich, we become profligate, we are supported by these same institutions who will advise us when the bubble bursts on how to reflate our economy. During the wealthy times, they freely give you loan, and they know these loans are not properly used. Most of the money is stolen and taken back to their own institutions, or most of the finances are used to maintain the salaries and amenities of their experts. Okay. So the point I'm really making is that now we are at the ditching point. There is no use telling us, sell one kidney, the good one, to repair the bad one. In the process, the patient is dead.
Okay. Right, Moses is on the line from Owerri. Hello, Moses, are you still there? Yes, thanks. Sorry that we kept you for a while. Hello, Moses. Hello.
Good evening. Thank you, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, see one thing about the issue you are discussing. I thank you. Look at the way they discuss on the breast. That ABU and Lagos as one of the big universities that is not in the east. We are not feeling happy over there. Get these things distributed evenly. For instance, look at what is happening about rice. Rice is not the comparative advantage of the east. Talk about the country. The east will be happy. Talk about rice in the north, they will be happy. Talk of cocoa in the east, they will be happy. Like now, when we talk about the upright rice and the swamp rice, this is an alien thing to the east people. Talk about the country for us, we will be happy. Get all these things distributed, and the whole nation will be happy.
All right.
The appointment so far is lopsided. We, the east, are not happy. Look at what General Museveni said the other time about the war, how they slaughtered the Igbo people. Instead of them saying they were sorry about the war, he's now telling us how they slaughtered Igbo people. So please, the Nigerian nation is not one. Look at the dressing of all the whole discussants with due respect to what him tell us to ethnic differences. There is no national dressing, no national language. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, Moses. Right, Dr. Pardon Joku, speaking about continuity, actually in the past 16 years, a return to democracy, you've moved forward so far. And here you say, how can the consolidation of a stable state now lead to more gains if you're looking at another 56 years of being independent?
Yes. I think that Nigeria is going to get better. Get involved in what they are blessed by God to produce. You will see that people will now depend more on themselves than looking up to the central purse and how the contents are distributed. Now, if there are no more contents to distribute, people will look into themselves, will look up to themselves, and then that can create what you're talking about, the continuity in administration. You know, this country amuses me. Every government that comes in calls itself this administration. They don't say government will do this. They say this administration will do this, to dissociate themselves from the previous administration. It happens in states, it happens at the federal level. But if we planted palm trees, as my friend said from Owerri, if one administration planted palm trees, the next administration would like to nurture those palm trees to make sure that they grow, and the following administration can harvest them, and then there'll be continuity in government. As long as we continue depending on the proceeds of just one extractive
interested in selling no asset. From what I can read, it is clear that this government is going to be involved in loans. Already there is a Federal Executive Council, which actually by constitution should be called the Executive Council of the Federation, that has given the Federal Ministry of Finance the approval to borrow over $29 billion. We've just seen the relationship between the African Development Bank yielding globally in terms of the loan of $1 billion and then some grants and other working capital totaling $2 billion. There is already in the works the China Exim Bank of about $3 billion. But the most important thing that we need to understand, if we are going to get out of this challenge, we do not need a quick fix. If we are not going to go for quick fix, we need to go back to land, like the former Honorable Minister of Agric and Finance later on, Madam Chiroma, mentioned earlier on. We need to go back to the land. To go back to the land, Professor Akinteriwa equally mentioned it. you need to go mechanized, but you cannot go mechanized. Unfortunately, that have been done by NIPS that we need to activate and make sure that we understand that, yes, the government is talking in terms of taxation and tax capture of about 700,000 businesses. We will need to have all Nigerians sensitized and mobilized in this direction so that we understand that clearly to achieve a greater Nigeria, all of us must put our hands on deck. Everybody must have a behavioral change, an attitudinal reorientation, and this is where the National Orientation Agency comes actively to play again. And those who are in public office, I plead with you, kindly be mindful of the fact that you do not have monopoly of knowledge. You have other Nigerian stakeholders that can assist you. Engage them and do the engagement early enough so that we do not misfire.
All right, from Ondo, we have Tony calling in from Ondo. Hello, Tony. Hello, Tony.
Tony, are you hearing me?
Yes, go ahead.
Hello?
Hello, go ahead.
Hello, are you hearing me?
If there is any sector of the polity that we can proudly present PMB, President Muhammadu Buhari, to the whole world, that this time he's a true fighter, quote and unquote, it is in the area of anti-corruption war. As I pointed out earlier, that B.S. Cookie took us back to 1967 when the institutionalization of corruption started. Only for us to wait until now for the dismantlement or the institutionalizing corruption. I think we are on the right path. Buhari is doing very well. Many people have argued that, he's probably focusing on some people, or that is not probing some other people. There is no way the anti-corruption war can begin with the totality of the people. It's not possible. You must begin forward is to intensify the war against corruption, and then to start afresh, to renew what Buhari himself started when he was military head of state, war against indiscipline. I agree with Dr. Fagbemi. You see, behavior, attitude. I have discovered that people may be against military regime, but the civilians succeeded in militarizing themselves, while the military themselves civilianized. You know, when you have a military function in Nigeria, the civilians quickly adapt to their style. Now, let's come back to war against indiscipline. Why? So that the frame of mind of the Nigerian, people who are against Nigeria, we need to change the mindset. He said it earlier on. If you don't change the mind, I insist that it is not the policies you are going to change. You can have the best suggestions the world over. You can
election campaign, and people will be promising for light, for road. Those are the things that should have been forgotten by now. Each state, there is no single industry by each state. No local government is have any commitment of development. The only thing they are thinking about is money for their family. And one person said that the easiest way to make money in Nigeria is to enter politics. we must have a culture change.
All right.
And look at what our school system is. We are playing politics with our school system. And we must go back to basics so that we can produce children and people who are God-fearing,
Okay.
who are committed,
All right. Thank you so much,
and who
Okoko.
believe in this nation.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much for your views. And, well, gentlemen, we've just got a few minutes left on this program, and so must begin to round up now. So, General Haruna, well, we've talked about so many things. In spite of all this, those who would say
there is need to build a larger chunk of the Nigerian society within the middle class. The middle class of the society is what the weight of the elite, and they take up the burden of the more vulnerable masses.
all right.
I think there should be the balancing act, devoid of greed and corruption. Then we would know that there is more to eat. The challenges they are very clear, but we have to be committed to solving them.
Right, Dr. Padin Joku, as we head into the 57th year.
I think it can get better if we can do two things. As Professor Kinteriwa would agree with me, the people who taught us French said, "La vraie richesse est dans la terre," that real wealth is in the soil, more dangerous than man. But the future can be bright if we organize ourselves very well.
Right, quickly.
In rounding up, I will want to plead with us to take note that there is a need for us to do a lot of sensitization, public enlightenment of the citizenry on the legal and policy frameworks that we do have. Because what we are calling corruption is actually malfeasance, misconducts based on non-compliance with these legal and policy frameworks. People need to know about the existence of these laws and the procedures, the rules of procedures, and standard operating principles so that we can enforce them. The other component is the fact that there is no way we are going to run away from institutionalizing fiscal federalism and redefinition of our federation system so that we devolve power and ensure that we go back to land. Agriculture is the right way to go, and once we do that, it's going to be easy for us to even activate solid minerals without too much stress.
All right, and thank you so much. And it is at this point we'll have to leave it for tonight and say thank you to our guests as we look ahead to Nigeria marching along and celebrating another 56 years ahead.
Why not?
Well,